Alright, so for Tree of Life class tonight, we are in the Sephirah of Yesod, which is the foundation. We spoke that Yesod is the power, is the place to connect with the Creator. This is the place, this is the, you remember that we said from Malchut, you remember the Sephirah, the Sephirot, Malchut, to Yesod, to Netzach, to Hod, to Tiferet, and on. But the only way out of Malchut, you see, from here, once you get out of Yesod, what? You can go any way, any direction. But the only way out of Malchut is through Yesod. And so where we were last week is that what? You must have a foundation. You must have a foundation. If you do not have a foundation in your life, in the spiritual realm, then you have no place to go. What are you going to do? And we spoke to the parables that Yeshua spoke concerning the wise man and the foolish man. That the wise man who built his house on what? On a rock, on a firm foundation. The foolish man builds his house on what? Sand. And if you build your house on the sand, for example, if you build your house on the beach and you simply put up a pier beam type of house, a wood frame structure there on the beach, what's going to happen? Why is it going to collapse? Because the sand moves, it shifts. The shifting sands, it shifts. And so as the sand shifts, as your foundation shifts and changes, then what? Your house cannot stand. Eventually it's going to fall sooner or later. You get a storm and it's going to go very quickly. But if your house is based on, today we use what usually for foundation? Concrete. Which is a form of rock. It's limestone basically. It's crushed lime. But back in those days, by the way, it was the Romans who invented concrete, who figured it out, cement. That's how they made the aqueducts. But back then, how would a person build a house? Well, you would actually try to find bedrock. Why bedrock? It's one of the hardest rocks that there is. And so they would try to find bedrock. They would try to remove the dirt to get to bedrock, and in many places, particularly in mountainous or hilly places, the bedrock is up closer to the surface. They would try to find a piece of bedrock, and from there they would begin to build their house. Why on rock? Because no matter what happens, what? That rock is staying there. That rock is not going to move. It takes something very dramatic, an earthquake, something like that. Even storms and hurricanes and things like that, for the most part, do not move bedrock. So, saying what? That we need to have this firm foundation. We need to have something upon which to build our lives. If we do not have something upon which to build, we're simply building on this, on some fluctuating idea or something that, you know, that is here today and gone tomorrow, these kinds of things, then you have nothing. This is a problem with people who are constantly changing their mind, changing their opinions. But where do you stand? What do you have? What is it that this person truly believes? And so the only way to get out of Malchut is through Yesod. Yesod is having a firm foundation. Tonight we're going to talk about this, that it is the foundation. The Yesod is the area, is the sephirah of procreation. Now, Christianity sees this, and they say, why? Well, that word procreation just jumps out. Right? Because what is procreation? Huh? What is procreation?
Creating yourself, creating others.
Okay, creating in your image, in your likeness, procreation. And who is it who does the procreating? The husband and the wife. So we see this as a sexual thing. So what happens is people look at, start looking into Kabbalah and all, and they see this. Well, Yesod is the area of procreation, and they, it makes them crazy. Understand this. Without procreation, you would not be here. It's as simple as that, correct? Without procreation, so what? Well, because the Western world, the Western mind, has a tendency to sexualize everything, to make it that. And it's not always just about that. For example, if you study Kabbalah, if you're studying the Sefirot and you come to Yesod, the foundation, if you come to Yesod, it is representative of the male organ. For our Western minds, we have a hard time dealing with this because instantly we gravitate to sexuality. However, we must stop and say this, that God Himself gravitated to the male organ. By what means? We spoke to it some last week. By what means? We call it Brit Milah. That is the Hebrew word. Everyone say Brit Milah. And Brit Milah means circumcision. What gets circumcised? The male organ. Why? So, if you remember, this is where we closed last week, that Yesod is what about? It is about the Brit. It is about the covenant. And the covenant is represented through circumcision. This is why then this comes back where? To this. Because what is the purpose of the male organ? Procreation. It's all about procreation. What was the command? What was the chief command that God gave to Adam and Chava? To be fruitful and multiply. How much multiplication? Well, you've seen how big this world is, this earth is, right? The globe. You've seen how big the globe is. How big is it? Is it full yet?
No.
The size of the globe, the size of the earth, of the sphere, has not changed. It is the same. He told them to be fruitful and multiply and to fill the earth. So, one of my older brothers had quite a few number of children. And one of his friends told him, you know, I don't think that God meant that commandment to you personally. Right? But what? He's telling Adam and Chava, procreate. In fact, this is one of what we call this is a part of the nefesh bechama. This is part of the animal instinct within us, is to procreate. This is part of being in this life on this earth. And all creatures of this earth do what? Procreate. Even the plants, even germs, right? Even microbes, everything procreates. Bacteria, everything procreates in some fashion or another. So, Yesod is the place, is the Sephirah of procreation. However, now we'll get into this as we get deeper into Yesod, and we'll be talking about Yesod is the power to procreate. So Adam was the foundation, he was the Yesod of mankind. What was his command? To do what? To procreate. Noach, what happens? The entire world is destroyed. Noach becomes Adam HaKodesh, becomes the new Adam. Correct? Thus he becomes Yesod. He becomes the foundation. We're all sons of Adam, are we not?
Yes.
But we are also all sons of Noah. Because you went from this, you went from one single, the earth went to this, and then what? At the flood, back down to singularity. And now what? Into expansion again. So Noach is now Yesod. He's the Yesod. Avraham was Yesod for all the Ivrim, all the Hebrews. Yaakov was the Yesod, the foundation for the 12 tribes. Yehuda, Judah, was the Yesod, the foundation for the Messianic line. Levi, was the Yesod for the Levi, including the Kohanim, the priests and the Levites. David, David the king, was the Yesod for the Malachim, for the Davidic dynasty. Yeshua is our Yesod. He is our foundation. As followers of Yeshua, are we commanded to procreate? Are we commanded to procreate as followers of Yeshua? Go into all the world and make Talmidim, disciples of whom? All nations. Are we commanded to procreate? Yes. And in fact, the very terminology is used with Nachdimon, with Nicodemus, in John chapter 3. We were speaking earlier in the last lesson in the grammar section concerning John chapter 3, John 3:16. What is the commandment of Yeshua to Nachdimon? When Nachdimon tells him, we know that you are a man sent from God, for no man can do these things except he be from God. And Yeshua responds by telling him a curious thing. Do not marvel when I say to you, you must be born again. Where does birth come from? What is birth about? It is the ultimate result of procreation. Now, where people get misled and where it becomes a problem for them is this thing of the Western mind, to which we were speaking earlier, of where we only think in physical sexual terms. No. Right now, I am procreating. And what means am I procreating? I am giving to you the information that I have. Thus what? Because I give you the information, now what? You have the information. Patrick, you guys just came through our beginner's class. And we spoke to this several times, that it is forbidden for us to learn simply for learning's sake, for the sake of learning. That what? We are to learn for two reasons. We are to learn in order to do, and we are to learn in order to teach others to do. And in Judaism, the rabbis say that you cannot have the one without the other. That it is not enough, it is not sufficient for you just to do, but you must also teach others to do. And so I speak to the classes when we're, and especially in the first class, the first few classes, we speak to this, that you are here, you're to be here to learn so that you can do, but also so that you can turn around and teach others to do. If you're just taking this information for yourself, you're actually doing wrong. You're being selfish. And so this is procreation. I'm making a bunch of mini-me's out of it. Not really. I wouldn't want a bunch of me running around. I wouldn't be able to stand it. I can't stand myself. How can I stand a bunch of... Anyway. So, it is our responsibility to bring people to the point of birth. I.e. what it's called, Christianity, we call it what? It's called born again, the new birth. The second birth. This is procreation. So what are we saying? We're saying this. You must advance. What? It is not sufficient for us to stay in Malchut. Saying what? We are responsible. We are responsible for those things which we learn here. I'm responsible for that. Responsible to do what? Responsible to procreate. I'm responsible to bring others into the kingdom. I am responsible to make citizens, to bring people into citizenship. This is my responsibility, and this is procreation. Saying what? I have this understanding. I understand this. I have faith in it. That is, I trust it. It is true. Therefore, what? It is my responsibility to make believers out of others. So Cody's a math teacher. How many of your students like math? Not a whole lot. Math was not my favorite subject. It was way down at the bottom of the list. So your responsibility is to do what? Change their attitude, right? To get them from not being mathematicians to being mathematicians. So in his class, he's in effect procreating. He's making little mathematicians. Okay? Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it fails, correct? but we hope for the success. The same thing is true. And why? Do you trust mathematics?
Yes.
Yes. Why? Why do you trust mathematics? It's absolute. It's true. It is true. Therefore you can trust it. It is provable. Therefore you can trust it. So, saying what? Is Torah true? Yes. Is it absolute? Yes. And God said. Simple as that, no? It is true, it is absolute. Therefore what? Can you trust it? Yes. Therefore, because I believe in Torah, it is my responsibility to get others to also believe in Torah. Everybody understand? So, we are commanded. Not asked, not requested. No more than Torah requests. Does Torah request you to do things? Does Torah request things of you?
Request?
Yes. No. Vitzivanu, remember? Everyone say Vitzivanu.
Vitzivanu.
Which means, and commanded us. So I'm going to go back to that and say once again, this is why we say the bracha ha-mitzvah, the blessing for the mitzvah. Why? It is a reminder to us that we are being commanded to do these things. Procreation is a commandment. But now we have to return to this because procreation has also to do with, we're coming back. Procreation has to do with circumcision. Because again, what is it that is circumcised? The procreating organ of the male. Why? Why? Now there's a big issue today. Because in Islam, in some Islam communities, they also teach female circumcision. But I'm not disputing the point. But there are those who say the same thing concerning male circumcision, because it is an unnecessary procedure. And in fact, there are nations. I think Sweden is one of them. There are several of those nations that have tried to pass laws, or I think one or two have passed laws preventing circumcision, because it is not. They see it as a mutilation of removing something that does not need to be removed. So circumcision is the cutting of the foreskin. The cutting off of the foreskin. Literally, it is excess flesh. Excuse me? Were you going to ask a question?
No, I'm just asking her, if we were commanded, should I ask them?
You want Joy to ask?
No, well, because if we were commanded to procreate, then why did some of us not be able, why weren't we able to have children?
Because God has His way and His will in everything.
And she was saying because maybe circumstances, and I was a good child. I did, I was. I mean,
Well, it doesn't necessarily.
All my dad had to do was look at me.
It doesn't necessarily have to do with that. God put you in a certain place, in a certain position, because that's where He placed you. And what do you say? What do you say to that?
You just accept it.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I do have to say that I am blessed, because if I had children, I wouldn't have adopted my son.
Yeah, well, you have things like that. There's all kinds of things that can be
But I can only have
placed
one.
there. But asking that is like, you know, I can sit here and ask God all day long, why did you give me diabetes?
Yeah.
You know, why did
Why did you allow it?
Sure. A friend of our family passed away with stomach cancer. He's in his 60s. He's a pastor of a church. Passed away with stomach cancer. He went very quickly. I mean, he was discovered like about a half a year ago, and already he's gone.
Wow.
You know, you can ask God why for a lot of these things. Basically, the ultimate answer is because we are fallen creatures. Whether it's this sickness or that sickness, if you know there are problems with the uterus or with me, my pancreas, other people, other problems, whatever it might be. But God willed this. God determined this for me. He already knew that this was going to happen, and it's not just that He knew, He determined that this was going to happen to me. So what? Where do I go from here? It's the will of God. Yeah, I can be miserable with it, or I can choose to be content and learn to live with what God has given to me. This is my lot in life, so it is what it is. Okay, so this thing of circumcision. I mentioned this before, I'll mention it again when we close. This thing of circumcision is the cutting away of the flesh. In Scripture, two areas are circumcised. So the first is called the circumcision of the flesh. That's my old English help. Of the flesh. The second is called the circumcision of the heart. Guess what? Some of us don't want to do either. Because what did we say? It is what? Circumcision of the flesh is the cutting of excess. Did you know that your heart can also live in excess? This is why both. Remember that you have two instincts, nefesh bekama and nefesh shamayim. You have the heavenly instinct and the worldly, the earthly instinct. Both must be taken care of. Both must be taken care of. So it is the removing of the excess. Notice I did not say the removal of this. Is this involved? Yes. But it's not just that. It is also this. For example, there is a contention in fundamental Christianity concerning alcohol. There are many groups in fundamental Christianity, Orthodox Christianity, who say that alcohol, that drinking any form of alcohol is absolutely wrong in any time, any place, what have you. And I grew up in such a place. The dichotomy of this is that God commanded His people to partake of alcohol on certain occasions. And so you have a problem with this. The verse that was always given to us is where Paul says, "Be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit." That's the problem. He did not say, "Do not partake." He said, "Do not get drunk." And he goes through this in the book of Romans where he says that There are some people who are offended by you eating certain food. There are some people who are offended by you drinking certain drinks. If you know your brother is offended, do not flaunt it in his face, but what? Refrain, restrain yourself and refrain from it, so as not to offend your brother. We're getting into Netzach territory here. Where what? Better that I care for my brother and his attitude than I care for myself and my appetite. That would be excessive. Excess is not necessarily sin. Excess is something that I do not need. For example, when you're going on a trip, you're going to take a flight. I have a friend who's got a fully paid round trip to Hawaii, hotel, everything included. Taking off next shot, flying to Hawaii, not paying a dime. So what? You are permitted. How many suitcases?
2.
1, maybe 2 at the most, but 1, right? If you take another suitcase, what? And you pay dearly. And that is called excessive luggage. To have excessive luggage, meaning what? More than you need. Okay? So what do you do with excessive luggage? Well, if you don't want to pay the steep price for it, you leave it home. The same thing, the same idea is applying here. That we're going to get into the excess this coming week, this next week. Okay? In dealing with this thing of circumcision. That it is about, it's not about sin.
Yeah.
It's about excessive luggage. It is about Hebrews 12, 1 and 2. Seeing we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses. 2 parts here. Let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily besets us, and run with patience the race that is set before us. There are 2 parts there. There's sin, but there's also weight. What is weight? Weight is not sin. Weight is excess. I ran track. I ran back then it was called the 880. The 800 meter race. Which is 2 laps around the track. In my training, I wore weights that fastened onto my ankles and fastened onto my wrists. They were full of sand. And they were 5 pounds each. 5 pounds extra on each leg and 5 pounds extra on my wrist. And I would run all week with those weights on. That's excess weight. That's extra weight. Is it necessary? No. So the day of the race, what? Do you think that I still ran with those bags on my ankles and on my wrists? No, I took them off. By the way, when you, after wearing those things all week and you take them off, you feel light as a feather. You feel light as a bird. Was it wrong for me to be wearing those weights? No. But what? When it comes to the race, it's not necessary. So what? You throw off what is not necessary. There's a reason why in the Olympics, in the Greek Olympics, the original Olympics, the men ran naked. Why? Everything was extra weight. And so they took everything off so that they would have no excess weight. And this is what is being spoken to with the Brit Milah. This is what is being spoken to with the circumcision. What? To remove the excess. But not just with the flesh. Yes, remove the excess, things that are not necessarily sinful, but they're weighing you down. They're holding you back. Cut them off. But also what? Those things of the heart. those things of the spiritual realm, because we can also be weighed down there. And so we are commanded to cut those things off. When we do this, we become better at procreation. That is, we become better at bringing people into faith. With that we say, Shalom,